show that keeps you in step with the technological world and one step ahead of everybody else. I'm your host, Harvey Reginald Smith, the second. Start the show.
And SMS audio launches new street by 50 cents. You got to hear about this, all that and more coming up today on Tech Pulse. All right, this is Tech Pulse for August 5th, 2013. Man, it's August 5th already. I know those of you that are dealing with back to school, you don't want to hear that. You know, I got a few people in the tech area right now who's like, man, how many days left before school? I think it's what, 13 or something like that? Days left, 14, 18, something like that. Xavier, how long is it before school starts?
I think it's 14.
14 days. Yeah. And what you going to do with your last 14 days of freedom?
Live it up.
I hear you, man. 14 days left before school starts. And of course, you tuned into Tech Pulse. This is the show that keeps you in step with the technological world while keeping you one step ahead of everybody else, starting with the top stories of the day. So we're going to start right off talking about Mario Kart. Now, normally when we talk about video games, when you talk about video games in the news, it's always some lunatic that went crazy, shoot up everything, and then they interview them and say they was playing Call of Duty and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, video games have a bad rap. Matter of fact, there was this guy in China. We talked about this story about a month or two ago. I don't know if you guys over there in the behind the boards heard about this story, but there was a story about a Chinese guy who he sold his kidney, you know, in order to pay off video gaming debts. You know, now the guy he got like the going rate for a kidney can cost you about 40 G's, right? $60,000. He sold his kidney on the black market for like $6,000 because he needed money to pay off gaming debt. Now the guy was 18, and the Chinese government say they blame video games for, you know, this guy selling his kidney. You know what I'm saying? Now, that doesn't make any sense to me. Nobody forces you to sell a kidney. Matter of fact, what video game debts could you possibly have? I mean, how are you going to ring up debts in video games? If you play an arcade game, you need money in the machine right away. There's no credit card system. You know, if you have a home system, you're going to have to pay your electric bill and stuff like that. So I don't know what debts possibly this guy can have, but it was news. The Chinese government came out and said video games are to blame for this guy selling his kidney for $6,000 on the black market. And, you know, these are the type of stuff you hear when it comes to video games. But seldomly do you hear something positive in the news. Well, according to Gizmo, Mario Kart was cited for helping a young boy to help prevent a serious accident. So let's talk about this here real quick. Video games usually get that pretty bad rap, as I said before, and there are some who believe that they lead to all sorts of violence. You know, that when you play video games, it leads you to violence. As a matter of fact, before we fully get into this story, let me ask Xavier. Xavier, do you believe that video games influence the way you act around the house and so forth? I mean, you play a lot of NBA 2K13, is it? You play, so because you play NBA 2K13, that's why you want to be, you like playing basketball, or did you like playing basketball already, and you just like NBA 2K13?
I liked it already, but like some of the moves that they do on NBA 2K13, right. I try to learn.
You try to learn?
Yeah.
So, would you say that video games influence your regular life? Like when someone is talking to you, you just say basketball for no reason? Does it affect your life like that? Because they're saying that video games, if I play a shooter, right? Yeah. Because I play Halo, I read
something about that where they were playing what's it called? Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto.
And then a person, he went up to the school and he had a gun and he started shooting around.
And that's the type of negative press video games get. But I play Halo. I play Call of Duty. Matter of fact, Call of Duty Black Ops is one of the best shooters out there. I play Resistance 1, 2, and 3. I played Killzone. You know, so I play those games. Now, would you say, Xavier, that me playing those games, I go around ready to shoot people?
No, because you know how to control yourself.
Okay, so video games don't necessarily have to affect the way that you are, but that's the type of bad rap video games got. So getting back into the story, of course, there are proponents of video games who believe that they have their uses as far as, you know, some people play video games to relieve stress and whatnot. And while we don't think that learning to drive a car by playing a video game is the best way to go about it, in other words, you're not going to learn how to drive a car by playing Mario Kart. But, you know, this wasn't the case with this story. It looks like it managed to help in an emergency situation. According to a report by Gizmo, a 10-year-old boy managed to grab the wheel of a car he was in and steered it to safety after his grandmother, the one behind the wheel, suddenly passed out. Leaping into action, the boy managed to steer the car to a safe halt in a ditch where thankfully no one was injured. The boy credits his wheel handling abilities. He said he played a lot of Mario Kart. And that's what gave him his mad driving skills, able to pull the car over to safety. And although, given how chaotic Mario Kart is, that's hardly a game that promotes defensive driving as opposed to offense. Because, you know, with Mario Kart, you have all these power-ups and you're trying to blast the person in front of you. If you're in front, people are trying to blast you. So it's really a chaotic type game. But he said that because he played a lot of Mario Kart, he said that enabled him to understand what he needed to do to pull the car over in a crunch situation like that. Now, either way, it's a pretty, you know, awesome story to hear that video game was finally credited for doing something good, because a lot of times all you hear is the negatives, but you don't hear any positive reviews when it comes to video games as far as does video games help anybody. But this report right here shows that video games have a positive side, as we always knew. Those of us in the tech industry, those of us that are gamers, we always knew that video games can be used for positives. Matter of fact, virtual flight simulators that they use in NASA, that they use to train pilots, all of these things are just advanced video games. That's what they are. You know what I'm saying? But we look at them and we say, well, it's a simulation, so it's not a game. But it's the same thing. And these are things that pilots use to test before they take you up on those flights. Astronauts use it in training, you see. But when we commercialize it, as a matter of fact, the Army even uses simulations to help train their soldiers and things like that. So video games are not something that's just used when people go crazy. No, if someone takes a gun and goes shooting up places, they were already off the deep end already. It's not the video game that made them go ahead and do it. You know, that's something that was already, you know, going on already. But it's always good to hear something like this where people are talking about, or a story gets out, you know. Now, it's not on the news or anything like that, but a story gets out where a 10-year-old boy, his grandmother passed out while she was driving. See, that's the thing about it. It's one thing for the pass out, you know, in your garage. She passed out while they were driving, and the boy was able to steer the car to safety using his mad Mario Kart skills, and that's what he said. So, you know, there you go. Kudos to the video game industry for finally getting that positive review from someone, and it made news. That's the thing about it. It made news, and we're reporting it right here on Tech Pulse. So I just thought we would start off the show this Monday, August 5th, with that report, because, you know, it's time video games got a positive spin. Now, speaking of positive spins, according to hothardware.com, Apple is doing something that they rarely ever do. And when I say doing something they rarely ever do, I'm talking about when it comes to price drops, or when it comes to lowering prices. You know, Apple is not known for doing that. However, I guess because they have refurbished units of their Apple TV, according to Hot Hardware, Apple has lowered prices of refurbished Apple TVs to $75. And many people are saying that this is the Chromecast effect. Now, for those of you that don't know what Chromecast is, remember last week we talked about Google coming out with this new internet streamer called a Chromecast. Right now, it only has 4 apps on it. It has YouTube, it has Netflix, it has Google Movies, and it has Google Music. Those are the 4 apps, but Google promises more apps are coming for it. Now, what Chromecast is, it's an HDMI dongle that you plug into the HDMI port of any high-definition TV, and using your smartphone, your tablet, iPad, iPod, whatever you have that's internet connected, you download the Chromecast application onto your iPad, and you can control the apps. You can control the apps for your Chromecast, like YouTube or anything like that. You can control Netflix, the movies, you can control the volume, fast forward, rewind, and stuff like that. So the Chromecast is this HDMI streamer that Google came out with just last week. And the thing is, it was $35, and it came with 3 free months of Netflix. So it brings the price of the Chromecast down to about $11, because with that free 3 months of Netflix, that's $24 right there off of the price. So that's $11 basically for that streamer. So because of that, people are saying, according to Hot Hardware, they're saying that the Chromecast effect has caused companies like Apple to reduce the price of their refurbished Apple TV. Now, Chromecast is not going to replace Apple TV or Roku yet. I mean, Roku has over 800 channels in their store right now. So you can get over 800 channels of programming digital content to download. So Chromecast is not a match for Roku or Apple TV yet, but it can become that. And at that price of $35, definitely this is in the running. Now, Apple TV has iTunes, and so Chromecast will never replace Apple TV, because I doubt Apple is going to license out iTunes to Google so that Google can use it in Chromecast. So I seriously doubt that's ever going to happen. So you're never really going to replace Apple TV. But because of the popularity of Chromecast, according to Hot Hardware, Apple has lowered the price of their refurbished Apple TV. So we're coming up on a break right now, but we're going to get into that story. We're going to get into that story right after the break of how Apple, a company that rarely reduces any kind of price, for anything. Apple is a company that their price is set. They don't reduce it. They decided to reduce the price of their Apple TV to $75. Is it the Chromecast effect? Is that what's causing Apple to reduce their prices? We're going to talk about this and more things coming up right after the break here on Tech Pulse. So just stay tuned.